Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to Peace Fund Radio with Ethan Dettenmaier and Adrian Paul, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Happy birthday to you.
Yes!
Ethan!
Finally, the respect I deserve around this place.
Exactly. That's only one time a year. You're only going to get it. I was going to sing the entire amount, but you really don't want me singing.
Let's not do that.
And you must understand that this was not... it was last Monday your birthday, is that correct?
It was two days ago?
Yes, that's Monday.
I'm living in a complete blur.
That comes before Tuesday and after Sunday, usually.
Yeah. I mean, I worked on it, actually. I didn't do much. I completely worked. It's been that kind of life lately.
Well, it's so funny because I've got a little picture here that somebody gives me. Happy birthday, Ethan. Was that?
I saw that too. That was actually very nice. Actually, thank you for that.
That was from Bev, our producer, who put it on our show outline this morning.
I love Bev. I sent her a thank you note. I tried to say thank you to everyone who texted and sent me notes. It was all very thoughtful, very cool of everyone. And thank you for the song. Very nice.
Yes, well, it was brief, and we'll leave it at brief. I know John Beerley said happy birthday to you this morning.
Yes, happy birthday, Ethan.
Yeah. Thank you. Both you guys are very kind.
You beat me to it, you know. But how are we doing today, Ethan? Have you recovered from last Wednesday's event for Sheila E?
Well, you were there along with several of your friends. I have recovered only to do it again tonight. It's like, oh, that's right. I got to report back there and do it all over again. And it's a new show, new producers, new showrunners partnering up every week.
Right.
This week is the producers of Space Ghost, Spin City, the producers of Warehouse 13, the producers of The Simpsons, the producers of Mad Men, a couple of writers, and some other craziness. So that's tonight at Sheila E.'s E-Spot Lounge in Studio City, red carpet at 6, open to the public. And it's for charity. Right back at it with Mad Men and The Simpsons.
So let me get through. So this is now going to be open for the public.
Yeah, anyone can go.
Anyone can go.
Your ticket's tax deductible. We partner with different charities throughout, and including I would like to do one with you.
That would be good.
And anyone can just show up and go.
Right.
And you never know who will be in there, as we discovered last week.
Yeah, it was actually a lot of fun, actually.
Thank you.
That was a lot of fun.
John, you missed it. I was walking through the floor. I was thanking everyone for coming out on the microphone, introducing somebody, and somebody shouts, "I hate you." Who do you think that was?
I don't think it would have been Adrian. I don't think.
It shows how little you know.
I didn't shout it out. I kind of said it. I hate you.
Yes. Yes.
They were like, "We love you, Ethan. We love you." And I'm like, "Hate you."
Yeah, he's like, "I don't."
I just learned that the musical score for Man of Steel by Hans Zimmer, that big crazy tumbling drum part right after the big blustery horns cut loose, is Sheila E. He brought her in to do the drums on that.
Is that right? She's a fabulous drummer, and she just got on the bongos. Remember, and she just started did a little bit, and I'm like, oh my god, where that's going to go is ridiculous.
She played the congas right in the middle of the crowd. It was a complete night of chaos, but she was fantastic, and then she closed with the song. It was great. Yeah, and she's out doing a Michael Jackson tribute because she laid down the percussion for Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, but you're going to be able to see her every Wednesday with us. She's a partner in the thing, and it's like This is kind of like a Saturday Night Live deal, where every week it's a new show. So when you come around, we have to figure out some Highlander stuff,
I know,
and some other things, and then we got to figure out how she's going to work into the act, and then hopefully, so we got to put a Wednesday night on the books for you guys, probably in late July, early August.
Well, we should talk about that. I mean, I'd love to have her on Peace One Radio soon because I know she does a lot of this.
Well, you guys know each other, right?
Yeah, way back.
I saw that.
Yeah,
it was like a reunion for you.
It was fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I saw Rico Ross there. I saw Ian Buchanan. I saw Sheila E. I saw a bunch of people, a lot of people that I ran into.
I mean, every third seat or fourth seat seemed to be friends of friends.
Yeah, I know. Well, listen, let's get into child protection right now. We're going to talk about children in armed conflict. It's in the past 2 decades, the character and tactics of armed conflict have really been changing a lot, and they've created new threats to children. Children are more vulnerable due to the tactics of warfare, the absence of clear battlefields, and the deliberate targeting of traditional safe havens such as schools and hospitals. The increase of use of terrorist and counter-terrorist activity sometimes blurs that line between what is legitimate and what is not in addressing security threats. a growing concern is the use of children to carry explosives or plant explosives. And in the past few years, there's been an alarming increase in the use of child suicide bombers and child victim bombers, those who are never even aware that they are carrying explosives and are detonated from a distance. Can you imagine that? You blow up a child from a distance. Girls and boys, sometimes as young as 8, are often unaware of the actions or consequences of their acts that they are instigated to commit. They lead to their own death, the killing of civilians, including other children, and usually schools and hospitals are zones of peace where children are granted protection, even in times of conflict. Yet there's an increasing trend of schools and hospitals being attacked with detrimental effects on children. Now, this morning, I'm going to be bringing in a friend of mine. Many of you will know him. Cary Elwes, known for The Princess Bride, Robin Hood, Men in Tights, The Saw, The Adventures of Tintin, Twister, Liar Liar, Kiss the Girls. He's done so many different things. He's a fantastic guy. He's also got a memoir. His memoir's out, As You Wish, in the Inconceivable Tales from the Making of Princess Bride.
It's fantastic.
Did you read it?
Oh, yes, it's incredible.
But we're going to have him on in a second. It's a tribute to the Hollywood's most beloved film, one of the most beloved films ever. He was chosen for the part of Wesley in The Princess Bride after Rob Reiner saw him in Lady Jane, and he spent weeks training in fencing with both his left and right hand. Now, we had a very good discussion about that because we both worked with the same swordmaster, Bob Anderson, who passed away. So that's where Cary and I have had a lot of discussions over the past year or two since we've known each other. So I want to bring Cary in. Cary is an ambassador for the Audrey Hepburn's Children's Fund All Children in School program with UNICEF. He's travelled to Banda Aceh in Indonesia. He's done a lot of different things. He currently supports the Mercy Corps in his spare time, and I'm going to be talking a lot about that with Cary in a second. Let's see if we can get him on the phone.
Okay, we're calling him now.
We actually sit next to each other a lot of the time when we go to conventions, and his booth is next to it, and I peek through the booth and say, "Hey, Cary, what are you doing?" He says, "Well, I've got 3 people here." I say, "Oh, I've got about 5. And, "Oh, yeah, what do you think?" Anyway, we're trying to link him in currently. By the way, also Cary also was, sort of many of you don't know, his Catholic mother took him to meet Pope John Paul II in the Vatican when he was 22 years old. Oh, wow. Cary portrayed the young pontiff in the docudrama Pope John Paul II in 2005. So he got some on-hands training, I understand, in that. But, in reality, I want to find out what the connection between his charity work and, possibly seeing the Pope and his background, because I think it all applies a lot of the time. We're trying to run all the way through here. Now, just a little bit for those of you that know, Mercy Corps saves lives and improves lives in the world's toughest places. They deal with poverty, conflict, disaster. They've been responding to these global challenges since 1979, helping more than 170 million people survive emergencies. Ethan, what do we have?
I think you got him on the line.
Cary, are you there? Hello. Do we have Cary?
Well, there's the phone is running.
The phone is running.
That's interesting.
Maybe it's running on its own.
Hello.
Do we have Cary Elwes on the line?
It's interesting.
You'll kill my father, prepare to die. He's going to hate me for that.
Well, that wasn't his line, was it?
Yes, indeed, that was his line.
Just the line he had to deal with.
Yeah, I know. John, are you there? Oh, is John gone as well? Do we miss him as well this morning? Having had technical glitches this morning.
No, it's actually not us. But keep.
Well, we'll keep going.
Interesting
I want to ask
stories.
John something because John, are you there? No, he's not. So, okay, so I'll have to talk a little bit further. We're having some technical problems on the show this morning. What is a child soldier? It's basically the two things that really shouldn't belong together. It's bad enough that children's lives. Hold on a second. Cary, you there? Hello. I still don't have him, Ethan.
Do you have me?
Oh, you could hear but couldn't hear me. He's got to try him back. He just sent me a text. He could hear us, but we could not hear him. So we have a technical issue. We're going to call him right back and see if we can actually get him on the phone. John, was that you there?
I am. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you. We're just going to try and get hold of Cary again. Let's see if we can... Let's get him on the line.
All right, it's ringing.
Ah, there we have it. I can hear the ringing tone now.
Yes.
Hello?
Cary!
Can you hear me?
Cary,
Hello?
how are you? Yes, I can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, great. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to pick this up on another line. Hold on 1 sec.
Okay. He's running through his mansion.
Yes.
He's actually going to sidestep a couple of things on the way there. So, John, wait a minute. You said Princess Bride. You read Cary's book, right?
I did. It's fantastic. If you've ever seen the film, if you love the film, check out the book. There's so many behind the scenes stories that totally enrich the experience of watching the book. I remember when I was young, we didn't have, where we lived in a rural area of Indiana, we didn't have cable. You actually still can't get cable where I live. You can get satellite now, but we couldn't get cable. So my Uncle Richard gave me a VHS tape that had crammed onto it Aliens, Conan the Destroyer, and The Princess Bride. And I watched that tape until it literally fell apart.
Hello, Cary. Cary,
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, are we on the air?
Indeed we are. How are you?
Good, Adrian. Thank you so much. Sorry, that was a bad line, so I had to get to another extension.
Yeah, it's modern technology these days. You think it's better. But
modern technology.
Modernish.
Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, no, it's fabulous. Now, we've talked about this over the weeks that we've kind of gone backwards and forwards, meeting each other in different parts of the U.S. on conventions. So thank you for coming on this morning and talking about it.
Of course.
So you've just been. We were just talking about your book, actually, and we have John Beerley, who's he's our extraordinaire fact finder and peace fund hero finder that comes on. And he's read your book as well. I'm about halfway through it, I must admit.
Yes.
But
Cary, it is an honor to speak to you. I'm doing so well, Cary. Thank you so much for coming on the show to talk about this important subject, and it's an honor. I've enjoyed your work for many years, and it's amazing to me that you are, just as Adrian and Ethan, a hero off screen as well as on. It's fantastic.
I don't know about that, but thank you. I appreciate that.
So, Cary, let's talk about the Mercy Corps, because this is what you support in your spare time. You've actually talked about it before. You've said, unlike most non-profits that go to countries that have been affected by man-made or natural disasters and provide food and shelter, they stick around and help put that community back together.
Yeah, they're not like any other non-governmental agency. They stick around, as you say, long after most of the other aid agencies have left. But not only do they provide, obviously, the necessities like shelter and food and water and things like that, and sanitation, but they help get the community back on their feet. For instance, they help farmers by supplying, tools and seeds and how to get their farms back on their feet. They repair wells. They build temporary classrooms and provide school supplies for children in border towns. In areas that are been in the conflict areas, and they support local markets and businesses. So they get the women in the community to start making just basic necessities that they can sell at the market to help put money back into the community.
It's interesting, Cary. It's one of the organizations we funded last year. We partnered with was Wells Bring Hope, and they do exactly the same thing. And the important thing is, don't go in and just build a well and leave it. You've got to affect the community around there so they can be self-sufficient.
That's exactly right. So it's like you can give, I think it was Audrey Hepburn once said, you give a person a fish, you feed them for their day. But if you give them a fishing rod, you can feed them for a lifetime. So their whole goal is to get these communities back on their feet, essentially.
Right.
Whether they've been affected by a man-made disaster or a natural one. And they're incredible. They have these incredible programs that help these communities get back on their feet. And I was there in Darfur in 2008, and I saw it for myself. You had all these women sewing handicrafts. They were making sandals and rugs and clothes and things to sell at market to help, as I said, to help their community. And they found out that women were the most responsible with the money because men would actually either go out and gamble it or drink it away. Right. But the women in the community were the ones who were the most reliable.
So let me
onto the money invested. Let
me ask you a question. Why did you choose the Mercy Corps?
Well, like I said, I looked around for a lot of charities to get involved with, and when I found out about these guys, that they have these long-term goals, I thought, well, that's unique and different. I mean, I respect all the other agencies, and I've seen UNICEF at work, I've seen Doctors Without Borders work, and all the others at work. They're incredible, and I'm not marginalizing them in any way. They're all incredible. When a disaster hits, and you go and see how USAID and all these people just move right in, UNHCR, all these guys move in and work at lightning speed to help these communities. But you very rarely see anyone stick around after they feel like they've done their job. And the job really isn't done after these agencies have left. These communities still have to figure out a way to live in these camps and support themselves and feed themselves, and that's what Mercy Corps does.
Now, you've done a lot of, I mean, obviously there are a lot of celebrities get involved in different types of charities, and it's basically what touches them. You know, I mean, the facts are, I mean, I talked just before you came on about child soldiers, basically two words that don't really belong together, you know, because
no, that's true.
It just shouldn't happen. Using kids as soldiers, no. It's one of, I think, you know, one of the most horrendous breaches of rights. Then is unequivocally wrong. It's just not on. I mean,
it's so wrong in so many ways. I mean, these children are just exploited and essentially tortured because they all suffer from terrible post-traumatic stress syndrome and all kinds of other things associated with war, and it's just appalling.
I want to give a little bit of facts out to the listeners just so they get an idea. There's about 250,000 children thought to be involved in armed conflict. Some estimates put the figure as high as 300,000, and it's thought that 40% of child soldiers are girls. And I don't think a lot of people realise this, that, you know, sometimes they're forced to kill or maim family members, you know, breaking that bond, which, you know... It's horrific.
That's their recruitment tactic, is to get them prepared for conflict by making them perform these atrocities on their own people. It's appalling.
Do you see certain, you know, I mean, why are these children so easily susceptible? Is it because there's nobody looking out for them? Is it because the parents don't care? Is it because of poverty?
No.
What do you think it is?
It's poverty. It has a lot to do with poverty. I mean, the recruiters that come in, sometimes they're local community leaders. They come in, they tell the parents that the children are going to fight the enemy, and they let them know that they're opposing tribes. So they work on their tribal conflicts rather than telling them exactly who they're going to go fight. And either the parents easily give in, or the children are taken by force and forced to participate in you know, under extreme duress.
But how is it? I mean, obviously, how do we stop something like that? Is it educating? Is it changing the structure of that economy? I mean, obviously, going in there and restructuring the families and the villages that have dealt with issues like this is one way, but the problem will still exist.
Yeah, it's tough. You know, I think it requires you know, commitment to long-term programs that provide psychosocial support, you know, education, economic development. But you have to get the governments involved to really stand up,
make those changes,
and play ball. You know, I mean, short of UN sanctions against the governments involved, or the International Criminal Courts declaring charges on, you know, on the militia groups or the rebel groups involved, I'm not sure what else can be done, really.
Well, for those of you that don't know, there are, since 2011, the places that actually reported use of child soldiers are Afghanistan, Colombia, India, Iraq, Israel, Libya, Mali, Pakistan, Thailand, Sudan, Syria, and Yemen. I mean, it's not just happening in one or two places. You know, it's happening in
widespread.
It's widespread, and you know, I mean, children are easier to manipulate, and as you said, you know, the price of a meal sometimes is a lot more attractive than not one.
Sure.
And sticking up. But the other thing I think is, I mean, and how do you deal with this? Is, you know, you have organizations such as ISIS now that put bombs on small children and send them into an area and blow them up. I mean, it's almost getting worse to this point. Is there anything that we can do to stop this? I mean, the Lord's Resistance Army in Uganda has the worst record of abduction. and it's still...
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think under the laws of war, I think the recruitment of children under 15 is still a war crime. It's still considered a war crime. And I think it was 156 countries ratified an international treaty prohibiting, the use of children. But it's getting those countries to abide by the treaty,
Yeah, because it's not just the country, it's not just the government. You've got to get the people to do it.
No,
and
exactly. You go after the rebel groups and the militias and so on. It's very deep-seated. It's a complicated issue. There's no question about that.
Where do you see? I mean, where do you see your participation in the organisation continuing? How do you?
Well, I do think I like to help raise awareness to them, which is why I do go on the air and talk about them like I'm doing now. And I want people to go to mercycorps.org and get involved, either volunteer or if they feel so inclined to donate, because they're a non-profit, and they're just extraordinary. I think if people would go onto their website and learn more about them, they'd realize just how incredible these people are.
And they're in more than 40 countries now, I see, and 93% of their field staff are actually from the country where they work. So they go in and employ the people in that particular country, which I think is very important.
What have you seen, Cary, as far as rehabilitation for some of these kids who have been child soldiers and who have committed atrocities because that's what they were forced to do and trained to do, and now they've been rescued from it, and to try to get a normal life back? Have you seen any efforts along those lines?
I have not. I mean, I've read about them. I've not seen firsthand. While I was there, like I said, I saw obviously children being recruited, or who had already been recruited and were heading to the front line, or something like, one of those two. I couldn't obviously tell. It's hard to tell what the exact numbers out there, by the way, because it's not something that groups normally report.
Right. Absolutely.
But obviously most of them suffer from severe post-traumatic stress syndrome, with the horrors they've witnessed, or the horrors that they've perpetrated themselves. And obviously they struggle with feelings of guilt and shame over those actions, and coming to terms with their wartime behavior. And as Adrian said, a lot of them, the girls, are sexually abused or are forced to be sex slaves, given to commanders in the field as gifts. And many of the kids are, get put on alcohol and drugs at a very early age. It's just, but I think in reintegration, I think, is important. Obviously, it's important, but you have to get involved in educational and training opportunities, and provide them with some sort of psychological care to help them deal with their trauma,
I want to mention, you mentioned there's not many numbers. UNICEF actually reports that the LRA, which we've just discussed, the Lord's Resistance Army in Uganda, has abducted children as young as 5 years old, and mostly between the ages which you discussed, which was 8 and 16, but and they often kill parents right in front of them, and then they march them south, and those that can't carry the loads are either killed, those that try to escape are severely punished, and girls, as you mentioned, are routinely raped. So that's UNICEF that have actually reported that as well. So it's...
we all witnessed the horrifying effect of Boko Haram kidnapping all those girls, and we know what happened to them. It's just appalling. It's appalling.
Well, and it's not only happening there. I mean, I also we talked to Afghanistan, northern Afghanistan. I was watching a documentary the other day regarding one of the armies. I think it was the Muslim Resistance Army, I can't remember which one it was, but they went into the area in northern northern Afghanistan, killed most of the young men, and just took all the other young girls away and used them as sex slaves, and took all the kids away, and it's just seems to be I mean, to be honest, I think it's also psychological warfare that they're doing.
That's exactly right, Adrian. It is psychological warfare, because you're doing damage to the community just by engaging in all of those acts you just mentioned. So yeah, it is psychological. It's to get the communities to feel totally vulnerable.
Well, Cary, it's I think what you're doing is good. I think you continue doing it. I mean, really, it's and like-minded people have to come together to do the solution, because as you said,
the real heroes are the folks on the ground doing the hard work.
Absolutely.
These are the guys I admire and look up to. I'm merely a conduit trying to share what I know about their incredible work to the world. So I'm hardly really. I mean, if you would go out there and see what these people are doing day after day to help put these communities back on their feet, you would see what real heroes look like.
Agreed. I've kind of gone to those areas, and it's interesting. We have a section which we'll be bringing on in a minute, Cary, that are kids that have done amazing things, and a lot of the time, you're really humbled when you see other people doing things, or when you go to these areas and realize that people on the ground who don't get much money or don't get any money doing what they're doing. Yeah. And to you sit there, and we sit in nice cars, we drive nice cars and live in nice houses and have our jobs and stuff, and we don't really realize where a lot of the world is really living.
No, it's very true. No, I think there are more people displaced now than since World War II. I mean, it's terrifying what's going on. And I think the humanitarian organizations are overwhelmed. I mean, you look at the numbers now in Turkey, bordering Syria, all the people have been displaced. I mean, I think the whole city that's grown up in Jordan from displaced people. It's just incredible. It's unbelievable.
Cary, thank you for joining us this morning. I know you've as you said, you just came back from Montreal, didn't you?
I did, and I'm shooting a series there. I'm doing a series for Crackle called The Art of War, and it's a wonderful drama with Christian Cook and Dennis Quaid and Kate Bosworth, and it's a lot of fun.
Oh, awesome. Well, I'm sure we'll be talking again, Cary. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
No, thank you for having me on your show. I really appreciate it, Adrian, and I appreciate the good work you guys are doing by shedding light on your show about these issues.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much.
I'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care.
Thanks, Cary. Bye now.
Bye, guys.
So we have a little bit of a feedback happening right now. Okay, good. So Cary Elwes this morning, it's as many people actually, what they don't do is we're getting a little bit of feedback here, Ethan. Is that me or you or
Beerley?
Oh, was that John Beerley?
Yeah. Notice.
When I take my hand off quiet.
This.
There's John Beerley again.
Yes.
We'll have to quieten him up a little bit.
He's a busy guy in an undisclosed location, working to overcome technical obstacles.
Are you getting feedback from me?
Yes.
Don't worry about it.
It was a tab. We'll deal with it.
Compared to other technical issues that I've put the show through, it's not a big thing to worry about.
But, the thing with when Cary was talking about, he's one actor from many who want to give their time, but sometimes their voice is much more important to highlight issues such as this, because when we are fans of people and fans of actors or celebrities of music, TV, film, sports, whatever, we tend to listen to their words a little bit more, and they tend to hit home. So it's he says that people on the ground are heroes, but as well as that, the people that champion these causes, these celebrities, also have to be given a word out, because they're doing as much good as some of the people that donate, and some people, it's all about the community and trying to change things.
And he did free the slaves.
What do you mean?
In glory.
Oh, yes. Well, he did do that. Yeah, but see,
he brought down the Confederacy.
Basically, what you've got there, you've got art imitating life.
Yeah, that actually is true, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you make a good point too, Adrian, because all of our heroes of the week that we talk about on the show, why did they do what they did? Because they heard a story that touched them. They heard a story that made them want to make a difference about an issue that they heard about. And without people like you, without Cary, without anybody who's bringing attention to these issues, people might not find out about the things that are going on there. It's difficult for us to talk about some of the issues that we have to talk about on the show, but it's good to bring awareness to those and let people know where that assistance is needed.
Right. Well, talking about Kids Heroes of the Week, let's bring out our Kid Hero of the Week on and highlight the things you have there, John, for us.
Bring the magic.
All right. Before I introduce this week's Hero of the Week, I have a really cool update on Dalton Sear, the 14-year-old musician and champion for children who's joined us in the studio several times. Dalton is a national ambassador for our wish-fulfilling friends at the Dream Factory, and he's currently starring in a new Amazon.com pilot called The History of Radness, which is a music sitcom about a bunch of kids who are putting together a band. It co-stars Henry Rollins with music by James Iha from the Smashing Pumpkins and A Perfect Circle. And it needs views and votes for the pilot to go to series. And if the pilot does go to series, then Dalton will be able to spread his message of helping kids even farther. So you can go to Amazon.com, check out The History of Radness, throw Dalton some support. It's a lot of fun. I watched it the other day. He's fantastic in it. Very charismatic, very funny, great music. If you've got kids who love music, they're absolutely going to love this show. Dalton is also on tour for the Dream Factory this summer, including stops to perform for kids at several children's hospitals along the way. You can find out more information at daltonsear.com. That's Dalton, C-Y-R.com. Now, for our new Hero of the Week, this is a story that ties into protecting children, which we've been talking about on the show today. We're going to travel back in time to the spring of 2007. Tyler Page of Brentwood, California, is watching the Oprah Winfrey Show with his mother, Laura. And his 9-year-old heart is broken by a story about children who were being sold as slaves to fishermen by their families for as little as $20 to work 14 hours on one small meal a day, catching fatal infections from waterborne diseases that they get when they cut their feet on rocks, or being forced to swim deep underwater into cracks and crevices where the adults won't fit. And these kids swim down and they get in these cracks and they get tangled up and stuck in the fishing nets that they've been sent down with, and they drown. It's just a terrible situation. And like I said, 9-year-old Tyler is just devastated by this. He learns that $240 can free one of these children for a year. So he sets out to hold a car wash to raise $240. Instead of raising the $240 he set out to raise, he instead raises enough money to free not one, but 5 children. And as with all of our Peace Fund Radio Heroes of the Week, Tyler could not stop. 8 months and various car washes and bake sales and yard sales and other fundraisers later, Tyler has raised $50,000. 1 year later, $150,000. He started raising so much money, in fact, that he and his mother, Laura, had to found their own organization called Kids Helping Kids, which you can find at kidsleadership.org. The fundraising totals now exceed $350,000, all because a 9-year-old saw something on television that made him want to reach out and help kids around the world. It's incredible. In addition to helping children in Ghana, they have given supplies and aid to young victims of natural disasters, assisted families whose children incur major medical expenses, and provided many other services to those in need in their own community and beyond. Tyler has even worked with intergovernmental agencies across the globe to fund rescue missions to free children from slavery, once again using money that he started raising when he was 9 years old. Tyler says, "I've learned that it really isn't about the money at all. It seems to me that it's really about connecting the human spirit." Tyler is 18 years old now. He's going to be attending college in the fall. And as for the future of his organization, he says, "Kids Helping Kids is something I want to pass down to my kids and their kids. I want to leave a legacy of hope, encouragement, and change." He even inspired his mother. Laura co-founded an organization called Peer Spring, which you can find at peerspring.com, as a platform to unite young people, educators, mentors, and investors to help students understand, apply, and master core skills that the practice of good citizenship and passion-based learning. I spoke to Laura on the phone yesterday, and she and Tyler will be joining us on a future episode of Peace of Fun Radio to talk about the work that they do with kids around the world. It's great stuff. So for the children Tyler has protected, for the children he has educated, for the children he has aided, for all of the children he has inspired and will inspire to do the same, Tyler Page joins the ranks of our Peace Fund Radio Heroes of the Week. Now, here's a part of the story that you're only going to hear on Peace Fund Radio that actually ties in a little bit more with our show today. His mother, Laura, was too sick to go out with Tyler's father, Ray, on their second date. So Ray brought flowers to their house, and they watched a movie together called The Princess Bride. To this day, Lara still refers to her husband Ray as Farm Boy, which is what Buttercup always called Wesley in the film. They've been married for 20 years, and their 18-year-old son has been rescuing children for literally half his life because of that movie. So well done to our guest Cary Elwes for bringing them together.
And that is the point, John. The point is that movies sometimes can actually inspire people. Actors, celebrities can inspire people. One of the things that actually you didn't mention, which I actually like, it was a quote Tyler said. He said, "I've learned that it really isn't about the money at all. It seems to me that it's really about connecting the human spirit." And going by that quote, really that's what we have to do in all the issues that we talked about this morning, about child soldiers, about trying to bring awareness to government and to the people in those countries to stop this, because it's unacceptable. You just cannot do it. And it's connecting the human spirit in making it aware that that's just wrong. It will hurt you much further in the long run when you do those types of things than it does by saving, helping you with a meal that's right there in front of you. So I think it's very important for people to understand that statement is very relevant in what we've been discussing this morning. John, what else do you have for us? Do you have a couple of other updates? I know you're going to have a couple of updates coming this way.
I do, as always. There's so many ways to help us out here at the Peace Fund. You can find those at our website, thepeacefund.org. In the top right corner of the page, you will see our supporter wall for a young man named Jordan, who throughout the episodes that we've had this month, we've told the story of his trips across the country with his mother, first surviving his mother's battle with breast cancer, then his grandmother falling ill and passing away. He's missed a lot of school because of it, and needs some help from a tutor. And we're trying to get that together for him here at the Peace Fund. You can read a letter from his mother, and actually our first episode this month where we talked about him, Adrian actually gave some more information, got a little bit deeper into the story even than what the letter goes into about some of the trials and tribulations this young man has gone through. He's 9 years old. We're trying to help him get his education back on track with a tutor. You can find out how to help him at thepeacefund.org. And to support the show, you can also find our Peace Fund Radio supporter wall, where you can basically claim a square on the wall in exchange for a donation, and donations of $250 or more. We will dedicate an episode of the show to you and read a message for you on the show. You can dedicate it to a loved one. You can dedicate it to yourself for doing a good thing to help children. Like I said, lots of ways out there to help us at the Peace Fund, to help us keep spreading the word and helping the kids out there who need it. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook. 2 accounts, The Peace Fund for general Peace Fund business, and Peace Fund Radio for news and information about the show. Follow Adrian at AdrianPaul1. Follow Ethan at Combat Radio. And as always, you can check out Ethan on his Friday show, Combat Radio, where the best of musicians, athletes, entertainers, movie stars, writers, producers, directors talk about the issues that matter to you. A lot of good people doing a lot of good work on the show. I'm always honored to be a part of it.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, John, I mean, obviously we can't do certain things without the people around us, and obviously Bev Shahara does a great thing. A lot of you that have donated. And regarding Jordan, we're close to that mark. We just need a little bit more.
So
we're going to finish that one off.
We can finish it today, everybody. As a matter of fact, we should be able to finish it today if everybody would just go on and make a donation. As I've said on the show before, when you buy lunch for $10, you eat it one time and it's gone forever, along with your $10. Maybe consider giving that $10 to help this young man today. Give him his future back. He's been through a lot.
The interesting thing is, John,
has taken a pretty big hit.
The interesting thing is we're talking about his education, and if we were able to educate the people around us in places like we've discussed this morning, in Afghanistan, in Syria, in the Sudan, in Chad, in all these different places, if that happens, then it basically changes the society around it. And that's what we try to do here, dealing with education. Educating Jordan may change the life of other people along the way, because he is not going to be running his life into a totally different direction if he does not have that education. Now, for those of you, just so that you might have finishing the show, but I just want to bring forward a few more facts that I wasn't able to bring you earlier on regarding child soldiers. In the last 15 years, The use of child soldiers has spread to almost every region of the world and every armed conflict. In the last 2 years, 20 states have been reported to have child soldiers in government-affiliated and non-state armed groups. Additionally, this is in the Sudan. A few other and I reported the other countries that are involved in it. It is disgusting. It should not happen. You are robbing a child of their life, of their future, and of a country's social economy. A lot of the things that we've talked about this morning are very upsetting. One of the things we talked about Uganda. We talked about how, and one of the things that was actually interesting about that thing that I did not report, you have 40,000 mothers, grandmothers, and children leaving homes and travelling many miles on foot to the main towns, and that's when they become prey. They seek refuge, but then they're abducted by the LRA. A lot of them will sleep outside hospitals, churches, and public buildings. One old man basically says, 70-year-old Elijah said, at night my 8 grandchildren sleep in the bush with no blankets. I don't know where they sleep, and they always choose a different spot. Not even your mother is supposed to know your hiding place. Rebels always force parents to show them where the children are hiding. Think about that.
Terrible.
Just think about that for a second. Your kids, you don't know where your kids are. Because if somebody comes, you get forced to tell them where your kids are. And when they find your kids, what ends up happening is your kids will they get forced to chop you to death.
Unreal.
I mean, it's just a very hard. Now there are other situations I do want to report on. ISIS, indoctrination of children in Syria, which is a very current topic right now. While they've been, victims of war zones, ISIS's approach is to educate them, as it does almost everything else, systematically. It actively recruits children to send them to training camps and use them in combat and suicide missions. It's used children as human shields, suicide bombers, snipers, and blood donors. The UN Secretary General's Special Representative for Children in Armed Conflict reports that ISIS has tasked boys as young as 13 to carry weapons, guard strategic locations, or arrest civilians. They control the education of children in the territory they hold. And according to a teacher from Raqqa, ISIS considers philosophy, science, history, art and sport to be incompatible with Islam. Those under 15 go to Sharia camp to learn about their creed and religion. Those over 16 can attend the military camp. Those over 16 who were previously enrolled in the camps can participate in military operations. But in ISIS propaganda videos, even younger children are shown being trained in the use of firearms, and they are not the only ones. It's just the war goes on. I could bring you more and more stuff like this. It just doesn't, Suicide bombing is another big issue in Afghanistan, Nigeria, Pakistan, Syria. And, obviously places like the Congo, you have massacres of children with machetes. It's just horrific. We have to change this. We have to stop this. There are organizations that are making a difference. Obviously, we talked this morning about the Mercy Corps, and I'm going to repeat their challenge. They basically have been responding since 1979 to help more than 170 million people survive emergencies and build back a better life. When natural disasters occur, an economy collapses or conflict erupts, the Mercy Corps is there to help respond immediately to the urgent needs for food, water and shelter, and stay, as we talked this morning, which is very important, beyond that emergency, to partner with communities for their long-term recovery. You can find them at www.mercycorps.org. Another organisation that will do that is Child Soldiers International, child-soldiers.org, an international human rights research and advocacy organisation. They want to end the military recruitment and the use in hostilities of any person under 18 by state armed forces or non-state armed groups. Their vision is when all boys and girls below the 18 can grow up under conditions that allow them to realise their full potential and enjoy their fundamental human rights, which is what it's all about. So 2 organisations making a difference, and the last one I want to mention is the International Rescue Committee, www.rescue.org. They help people whose lives and livelihoods are shattered by conflict and disaster to survive and recover and gain control of their future. They go in when an emergency arises. The American branch of the European-based International Relief Association was based in 1933 at the suggestion of the German-born physicist and philanthropist Albert Einstein to assist those suffering from Hitler. So it's been going on a very long time, and we've got to stop it.
And Adrian mentioned education earlier. There are a couple of organizations I wanted to quickly mention. Little Women for LittleWomen.com, which was founded by 9-year-old Elena Podmoro, who was on our show on July 16th of last year. She has raised over $500,000 to educate girls in Afghanistan and to basically protect them from the types of situations that we've talked about on the show today. We had Eleanor Sue from the Schools for Africa Fund at schoolsforafricafund.org, who started her organization when she was very young because she saw a photo of a child who had his arm chopped off by a machete in an armed conflict. And that's what caused her to raise the money that she's raised to run several schools for children throughout Africa to keep them, again, safe from the types of situations we're talking about on the show today.
John, thank you for joining us this morning. In reality, none of this can happen without a concerted effort by everybody listening. If you like the show, donate to us, as John mentioned, because we cannot bring you all this information. Things have to be paid for, and the Peace Fund runs mainly on volunteer donations and volunteers that actually come in and help us put this together. Ethan Dettenmaier, Beverly Shahara, Carmel McPherson. I could name a list of many, 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 many people that help us do this, and I want to thank them all for doing that, because we cannot change this world by one person. We do it collectively. That's what we want to do. We want to stop and bring awareness to you all about the issues that we care about, and I'm sure you care about the most, which are your kids, who are the future of this world. In finishing, I want to finish with a quote by Mother Teresa. I alone cannot change the world, but I can cast a stone across the waters to create many ripples. This is Ethan Dettenmaier and me, Adrian Paul. We'll see you again.
You're listening to Peace Fund Radio with Ethan Dettenmaier and Adrian Paul, right here on LA Talk Radio.